In this next build, we'll be incorporating earnings transcript information into the report. Earnings transcripts can be very useful insight to gain insight into the concerns analysts have and how management is addressing these concerns. We'll be using the earnings call transcript URL from this financial modeling prep site. This URL site is only available on paid plans, so feel free to just watch this video to understand how this technique works and skip the implementation part if you're not interested in this paid plan. In the build, we'll be adding a tool that calls into this API and through this HTTP call, and then it will use a large language model call here to analyze the contents of the analyst and management interaction. And then we'll be providing this tool to both the senior research analyst agent as well as the research agent in our workflow. So let's go ahead and start the build. Now I'm going to start off where we left off in the previous project, and we'll be using another tool, adding another tool to allow the senior research analysts as well as the researchers work to get access to the earnings transcript. Now, in the previous project, we use what I call an inline tool. So this tool is in the same workflow as the main workflow, but you can only do one of these per workflow. So I'm going to have to take a different approach by adding a tool in a separate workflow and then calling into here. So what I'm going to do first is what I did similar to the financial metrics. I'm going to add a node here, and I'm going to say custom NA10 workflow, and I'm going to call this a earnings transcript tool, and I'm going to tell it that this tool is useful to gain insight into the latest earnings transcript, especially the question answer from analysts and company executives. And then I'm going to pass into this tool the ticker, and the value is going to be coming from the settings as before. All right. Now the workflow ID we'll get to later on. All right. So that is going to be the basis of our tool, and I'm going to call this my name is earnings transcript. Okay. So I will rename that, and so this this tool will now call into a NA10 workflow that I'm going to define. So I will go ahead and create a new window, and inside this window I'm going to add a new workflow, and inside this workflow I'm going to start with a trigger. So very similar to what we did before. So in fact, let me just copy this. So I will go here, copy this, and just paste. Let's look at the API that we want. So back into the same provider of this information in the earnings transcript section, I can take a look at this endpoint. So everything is really the same as the previous project, but we have this earnings call transcript endpoint here. So I'll go ahead and copy this, and I will go back to my node here, and then to specify earnings call transcript. So we've done that already. And then the next thing is the ticker symbol. So the ticker symbol is going to come from here. It's going to get passed in as the function is called. Okay. So what I'm going to do is specify this in this way. So I will refer to the trigger node, right? And then so this will give me this will give me the symbol, and then what I'll need here is question mark and then year followed by quarter. All right. So I'm going to define in my settings 2 additional variables. Right. So I'm going to add in here year, and then add another field, and this is quarter. Right. So this year I'm going to say 2004 and 4th quarter. All right. So I am now going to put this information here, right? So let's take a look at here, right? So question mark and then year, and then followed by equals. All right, so question mark, year, equals, and then it's going to get information from the previous node dot year. All right, and then let's look at this next one. So ampersand quarter. So I will do that. Ampersand quarter. And then I will also use from the previous node dot quarter. All right, so this API key or this API endpoint will call into the earnings transcript. It will pass into the symbol that that comes from the workflow trigger. So this is the trigger, and then we're going to pass into the year and the quarter from the settings, and then I'm going to pass into here also the API key. All right, so that's it. That is going to be my that's gonna be my input here. All right. Okay, so let's try it out. So what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to replace this with a hard-coded value because I don't have it. I don't have that value before the tools call. So I'll just replace it with NVIDIA for now. And then let me just execute this so that it gets this value. And then I will execute this. All right, so you can see here the content of the transcript. So this call happened on February 21st, 2024, and you can see all the information here. All right. So what I'm going to do is, for testing purposes, I'm just going to pin this data. So what this pin the data does is that I'm going to just save this data effectively, right? So that this node can be used, the value of the data from this node can be used for the next node. All right. So the reason I want to do this is because I want to provide a summary. All right. So I'm going to do a call to my large language model so that I can summarize and provide insight on the Q&A from the analyst and the management. So I will add a next node, right? So I'm going to go into here, into my AI nodes, use a basic large language model chain, and I'm going to define it here. And then here's my prompt. I'm going to say the following. All right, so let me just open this up. The following is an earnings transcript. Examine the transcript and summarize the key concerns from the questions that were asked by the analysts covering the earnings call and the management team's answer to the concerns. Okay, so then I'll take the transcript from the previous node. So let me just connect this first. All right, so I will delete this, and I will connect this to the previous node, and I will add into that my OpenAI chat model, put my credentials. I'll just use the GPT 3.5 Turbo, and let me see what this adds here. So the previous node, the content, so it will be provided here. All right, so let's try it. So I'm going to test this step. All right, so it's going to take all the content here, and it's going to look at the Q&A section of the earnings call, and it's going to provide the key concerns. So key concerns here, concerns about the evolution of data center and expectations for the calendar year, and then questions about NVIDIA's approach to product allocation. So it's a pretty good insight. You know, so it summarized that whole interaction through the earnings like this, right? So we've got the information that we want. And now we're going to set that in. All right, so I'm going to save this next as my transcript tool. And then I'm going to revert back this call so that it's dynamic, right? So I just hard coded it so that I can do some testing. So now I will change it back. So here, change this back so that it's dynamic, right? So it will get this from the trigger. All right, so that is my tool, and I'm going to make a note of this. So this is the workflow that I want to call, and I will go back. All right, I'll go back here, and then in the earnings transcript that we first started things with, there's a workflow ID. So I'm going to associate that workflow with the workflow that I just created, right? So this workflow here, earnings transcript tool. So let's just do a quick recap of what we just did, all right? So in the previous project, we created a tool with financial metrics, and it's calling directly, you can think of this as inline, it's inline tool right here. So whenever there's some metrics that it needs, it will call this tool. And then in this project, we've created a additional tool, and this tool we created as a separate flow. And the reason is because you can't have two inline tools, right? So if you want to have 3, 4, 5 tools within this this tool set here, you'll need to create it like what we did here. All right, so then what we did is we gave it a description, and then we passed into it a ticker, right, that we got from the settings. And then in here, when it detects that it needs insights from earnings, then it goes to execute this flow, and then we get the API key here, and then we call into the earnings transcript to get the information, and then we process this by asking it to look at the key concerns in the Q&A. All right, so that's how it flows. And now there's one important step that I still need to do, right? So in the prompt, what we need to do is tell it that it has this tool, right? So what I'm going to do is add within this prompt for the senior agent. I'm gonna in my detail summary say, all right, so use the earnings transcript tool to get insight into the analyst questions and management response. All right, so this tells it I've got a tool. This is a tool that I want to use, and then in the report itself, I want it to actually say, okay, now I want to use it, right? So I'm going to add into here insights from earnings transcript, right? That's going to be part of the report, and when it tries to get the report, it will know, or this information from the report, it will know to use the transcript tool from here. All right, so that's it. And then the other thing I'm going to do here is just copy this over, so that when I do the detailed research, this research team also has access to this tool, right? That's it. So I'm going to execute this, and I will fast forward it as I execute it, so that for the brevity purposes, and then after it finishes, we'll take a look at the file. All right, so it's finished running, and now I'm going to go to my Google Drive, and inside the report, there are this new section here called Insights from Earnings Transcript. So take a look at what it's produced. The latest earnings call revealed insights from the Q&A between analysts and executives. So concerns were raised about product allocation, demand side dynamics, highlighting the challenges in a fair distribution with customer demand. So it talked about analysts trying to seek clarity on the growth drivers, and discussion included the future usability of NVIDIA's investments and the adaptability of current infrastructure. So pretty solid extraction of the summary from the latest report, including some of the new stuff on the memory that NVIDIA is looking to use. So pretty powerful, right? So it's good to see that from this workflow, you can branch to multiple inclusions of that within your report. And when you look at all the different things that you can pull in, right? So we can also use exactly the same technique to pull in, information about, price targets, right? So there's information on price targets here, as well as upgrades and downgrades, about news, right? So anything in here can be pulled into this flow with this tool, right? So very, very powerful technique.